You call yourself a man? You know you're a lying, low-life, motherfucking gambling degenerate prick. You know that's what you are?
Well, hello, you degenerate fucks, and welcome to The Degenerate Gambler. It's Wednesday, the 14th of August, and just back with another episode. I'll be having a quick look back at last week's bets, giving you some stats, and then I have two bets picked for this week. So look, I'm not going to spend too much time going back on the bets. None of them were great. The main bet for wins, I only had two up, which was Doncaster and Bolton. The other three were beat, City drew, Birmingham drew, and Lask were beaten. The overs bet, I only had one up, which is mental. I had no bet on Saturday evening. And then on Sunday, which I will be continuing to do for at least another 3 or 4 weeks now that the Premier League's back, and there should be more games on a Sunday. Italian League, Spanish League, all that's back this week. Is the sort of Super Yankee or whatever I'm doing, Yankee, whatever it may be. So yeah, I got one up on that, so it wasn't great either. But anyway, it's early in the season. But one thing that I have changed this week is, I'll give you a sneak peek. So I went with both to score bet as my main bet because, again, it's so early in the season to try to pick winners. So anyway, stats on last week's games. So in total, we had 72 games in England. That was from the Championship down to National League South. So I'll run through these quickly. So in the Championship, there's 12 games in every league. So Championship, 7 favourites, 2 draws, 3 outsiders. League 1, 6 favourites, 1. There was 1 draw, and there was 5 outsiders that won. In League 2, 8 favourites, 1, 2 draws, 2 outsiders. National League, 5 favourites, 3 draws, 4 outsiders. And the National League North, 8 favourites, 1. There was 2 draws, and again 2 outsiders. And National League South, exactly the same. 8 favourites, 1. There was 2 draws and 2 outsiders. So in total, out of 72 games, there was 42 favourites, 12 draws, and 18 outsiders. The outsiders was actually quite high, but 42 favourites winning is 58% of favourites. So that's a good start, and let's hope that it keeps up that this season. Going on to goals, so overs, and then both to score. Championship was all the 6s, so 6 games were over, 6 weren't, 6 games both to score, 6 not. League 1, 5 games over 2.5, 7 games not, 6 games both to score, 6 games not. In League 2, 5 games over 2.5, 7 games not, 6 games both to score, and 6 games not. In the National League, 7 games over 2.5, 5 games not, and again 7 both to score, 5 not. National League North is big one. 10 games were over 2.5 and only 2 weren't. But only 7 were both to score and 5 weren't. National League South, high again. 8 games were over 2.5, 4 games weren't, and 9 games were both to score and 3 weren't. So those totals were actually, they worked out the same, which does tend to happen sometimes, which was 41 games over and 31 not, and then 41 games both to score and 31 not. And that is 56% of the games. Again, another decent high number. So, let's hope those kind of stats continue now that we have the Premier League back. And, the Premier League this week, this is one of the reasons why I went for a both to score bet. The prices in the Premier League this week are terrible. Like, for all the games, there's hardly any that are even worth gambling on as far as winners are concerned. So I'll just give you a quick overview of this. So Liverpool are 1-3, 4-11. Arsenal are 1-5. Everton are 13-8. Brighton are 17-10. That's a pretty tight game. Newcastle are 4-11. Southampton 7-1. In the Forest game, it's a pretty even game, 7-5 on 15-8. And then in the Villa, West Ham at home, they're 6-4 versus 17-10. So there's only really 3 games to bet there. Liverpool not worth betting on, Arsenal, Newcastle, and the other games that are, they're sort of tight, early season. So that made me think about going for a both to score. So I'll get into the main bet, which is, I say, it's a 5-timer, both to score, and the games are Forest and Bournemouth at 8-13, Norwich and Blackburn at 8-13, Lincoln Barnsley at 4-5, Wycombe Birmingham at 4-5, and Newport Doncaster at 4-6. So in total, that's 13-1. There is a 10% bonus on Bet365, so the pay is 154. So look, again, I did have a look over the, who scored goals in their first sort of game on any of the teams that played in the EFL Cup, but it's hard to go on. But again, it's more just, do the games look like the two teams could potentially score? That's the reason, and it's very early in the season. There is no form yet, so picks are harder to sort of back up with evidence. On to my side bet, which this week will be a bet for wins. So I'll run through these and I'll come back and give you some sort of reasoning of why. But Sheffield United at home to QPR at 4-5. Mansfield at home to Burton 5-6. Gillingham away to Morecambe, even money. Forest Green away to Boston 6-5. And Watford at home to Stoke 8-5. Now that works out at 36-1, so it's quite a big punt. But with only having a fiver on it, it's paying like 170 or something. But the reason I went for that, again, like I say, is it's very early in the season to be predicting, winners. But looking at the Sheffield United game, so first of all, Sheffield United versus QPR. Sheffield United won their first game, QPR didn't. But again, a team falling down from the Premier League should be looking to win their home games against, a half-decent QPR side. Mansfield was the next one. Mansfield, had a really good season last year, and they won away from home in their first game. Burton lost their first game, and just historically, Mansfield have a good home record. That's sort of my thinking there. Next, Gillingham. So Gillingham are away to Morecambe. And from looking into it, as far as I know, Morecambe lost a lot of players. Lost their first game in the league, lost in the cup. Gillingham won their first game, lost to Swansea, who are league higher, 2 leagues higher in the cup. But last season they played each other twice, and Gillingham won both games. So that's sort of my thinking there. Next, into the National League, Forest Green, who were obviously relegated, playing Boston. First game of the season, Forest Green drew, Boston lost. But again, I'm sort of thinking with that of, Forest Green were relegated. They did well the last time they were in the National League, got promoted. So that's my sort of thinking with that one. And then lastly, look, you'll see that obviously a championship game is the last game here, because I didn't know where to go with Watford. I was also looking at Salzburg. Salzburg are away at Lask. They're 9-10. And I was also looking at Burnley. Now Burnley are like 1-2. But if I had done the Burnley, it was paying it was 20-1, so it was paying about 100. But you know what? I just took the risk and went for Watford. Watford can be hot and cold, but Tom Cleverley obviously is in there as manager now. Hopefully he can. They had good spells last year, but they're like for sacking managers. So if he doesn't get off to a good start, he could find himself out of a job. But again, they won their first game 3-2. They were 2-0 up. Stoke won their first game 1-0. But again, with that one, I'm just sort of looking at home advantage, and the fact that I do think Tom Cleverley will probably do a decent job there. So to say, that one's 36-1. That's the 2 bets. I'll have a quick look at midweek, and then I'll tell you about my outright bets. I've only done 2 this year. Let me just log in here. So midweek, on Tuesday night, there is a full National League fixture list. There is a full National League North, so that's 12 and 12. There's a National League South 9 games, and there's also a couple, I think it's 6 Champions League qualifiers. So, you know, decent night. Wednesday, there's only the Champions League qualifiers. There might be a few games in the Northern Ireland Premier League as well. And then Thursday night, I think, is Europa League qualifying. So yeah, I'll quickly run into this before I let you go. So I've done a £10 bet. It was actually a free bet. I think I meant to talk about this before, but I'll go over it again. So outright bet is Spurs to finish top 6 at 4-6, Luton to be promoted at 7-2, Doncaster to finish in the playoffs 10-11, Bolton to be promoted at 3-1, and Forest Green to finish in the playoffs at 11-10. That pays 1,192, so almost 1,200 quid. And if it hadn't been a free bet, it would have paid £2,000. Oh, sorry, £2,000, 1,200. Sorry. And then the one that I talked about, I was going to do is the top goal scorer for each club. Now, look, this can still bite me in the arse because players may transfer, but we'll see what happens. I had to get it done before the season started. So, Ivan Toney for the Brentford's top goal scorer, 4-6. Bukayo Saka, 7-4 to be Arsenal's top goal scorer. Jared Bowen, 5-4 to be West Ham's top goal scorer. Cole Palmer, 8-13 to be Chelsea's top goal scorer. And Eze, he's 15-8, so about 2-1 to be Palace's top goal scorer. He needs to stay injury free to be able to do that because he missed a lot of last season with injury. So look, that's basically it. The only thing I'll say is I've restarted TikTok. I can't post my bets on TikTok because I already had one post flagged that I had to delete because I posted a bet on it. The plan is to build it up to a decent amount of followers and then only post the bets to my followers. Then hopefully they're not going to, put in reports which get me banned. But I'm putting on some, decent information about different types of bets, different ways of doing things. Talked about the League Cup, about betting for goals and stuff like that. I'm going to do another video here about the stats, how I look at the stats. But so if you're on TikTok anyway, just give it a follow. Yeah, but that's about it. So it just leaves me to say, if you are doing a bet this week, good luck and happy pondering.
Here, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, thanks. Let me find out you fucked up. I'll leave you wherever I find you.